Hi, folks. Welcome to Monday's edition of the I Write Radio podcast stroke videocast. We've got Jimmy Hutton with us. Hooray!
Afternoon, peeps.
And Stuart Lockhead with us as usual. And
how are you doing, guys?
And I'm Norry Stewart. We're going to have a chat about the press conference today. I think this might get a bit fiery, actually, strangely enough. And then we've got an interview with Peter A. Bell that Stuart did this morning about the AUOB conference at the weekend. Jimmy, you have first pop, seeing as we haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, well, I only caught bits and bobs of the presser, mate. I'm not that long in the house. It seems interesting that Nicola's basically telling people, I'll tell you what's going on with the levels in Parliament tomorrow. And they were all desperate to, boy for Aberdeen, is there any chance you could put bits of Aberdeenshire into level 2 and other bits in level 3? And they're all desperate to try and get tomorrow's story today instead of just waiting. I think my cynical side tells me that there's going to be level 4 for the West Coast, just so that they can put them back into level 3 at Christmas and tell them they're doing them a favour. I'm not quite sure what will happen through here. There's all kinds of hints, obviously, and Nicola was desperately telling journalists that they don't brief after John Swinney briefed to the press yesterday. But there we go. Personally, I think they're looking for an excuse to lock us down. They're looking for the numbers aren't going down the way that they want them to go, and they're looking for an excuse to put us into level 4. So I think the West Coast will cop for it this week, and we'll probably cop for it in a couple of weeks' time, because Edinburgh gets the joy of being attached to the Lothian Health Board, so our figures get dragged down by West Lothian.
Right. The leak came from a business briefing. The leak that the mainstream media are picking up on about lockdowns. It was leaked from the Scottish Government being nice to business and giving them some sort of warning that this was likely. So it's being reported anyway. Stuart, what do you reckon? You seem to think there was a lot of information came out of today's briefing.
I thought there was. She did explain why. I mean, she repeated, you're right, Jimmy, about this question of briefing, but she explained very well. She's getting really good at presenting, as I said the other day. She said that, what would you rather? That we told you nothing until we made announcements at 3 a.m. or something like that, just leaked it to our favorite newspaper. She'd rather just discuss with the local authority leaders, and it will leak out, where they're going. We did discover that, yes, West Lothian is a maybe that might be included here in the east. But apart from that, it's really Greater Glasgow Health Board. Inverclyde's a maybe. Will it be in this level 4 or will it no? Plus Stirling wasn't mentioned. East Lothian might even go down a level from level 3 to level 2.
Yeah, but Stuart, I mean, that catches your interest. It's speculation, and it's of no use. It's not information. Tomorrow it'll be information.
Oh yeah, the hard information is tomorrow. So, no, I was just responding to what Jimmy was saying. That's all.
But for me, that just kind of muddies the waters.
Yeah, I think it's a bit kite flying by them, mate. If they can give hints and then let the journals babble on about East Lothian possibly going to level 2 and that, it's just kite flying to see what people's reaction will be. Don't think for a second they're no watching things like Facebook and Twitter to see people's reactions.
And I've just realised that what it means is I disagree with what she said. I don't think they should be flying these kites. I think they should make the announcement.
I don't agree that she is flying kites. I think she means it. I believe what she says about it. Rather than just announcing. Look, it's a complete contrast to what's been happening down south. They announce things by leaking them to their favourite newspaper at 11 o'clock on Friday night. This has kind of been
A
typical.
politician, she knows immediately that she speaks to local government or business that it's going to be leaked. The fact that they're not leaking directly doesn't mean that they're not leaking.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with that. But I mean, my thoughts on this one are, it muddies the waters.
Well, how would she? I'm not ready to defend her on everything, but I'll defend her on this. Anyway, can we move on? Because I mean, it's not just that there was a lot to talk about in the sense that we've got a new vaccination that's apparently is as good, if not better, than the one announced last week. We've got a trial actually started for a third vaccine, which is actually going to be trialed in Fife and Angus. So that's incredibly local, and you can sign up for it through NHS, the hospitals in Dundee anyway. If you normally go to a Dundee hospital, it'll be in that patch. The question of freedom of information.
Well, wait a minute. Let's deal with the vaccine. We don't have a vaccine yet at all.
I have been studying, this, the wider picture and how many people are actually, with reasonable, steady look at the camera, are not getting overexcited, and how many,
Exactly. So this is more speculation and kite flying.
No, but
Maybes and promises we do not have a vaccine yet.
Yeah. But questions are being asked about the logistics, all kinds of serious questions, and so we're definitely getting to the point where people are getting excited. Then you move into the area of, well, are people going to get complacent about their behaviour?
Well, it's all speculation because we don't have a vaccine and we don't know what our levels will be till tomorrow. So there's half of the press conference, hot air, speculation, something to print in the newspapers, not giving any solid information to anybody. Right. Jimmy, what do you reckon?
I think that's what the daily briefings have become, mate. I didn't think it's any different for any government anywhere on the planet. The press is rapacious. They need stories, so they give them what they want to feed them. You're right. It's hot air and speculation. And frankly, I'm a bit tired of all the speculation. I'm a bit tired of hearing about vaccines. Interestingly, this latest one today claims a 95% clear up rate. So Barry, they're a wee bit better than Pfizer. So are we going to be paying slightly more for that?
Well, I would immediately ask the business people, the people that are the journalists that report on the city and the value of shares in all these companies, and see where that's affected, because it is the big question. There must be an awful lot of money pouring into the developing these vaccines, and then you got to ask, if this Moderna one that's been announced today, only days after the other one was announced, is it all about money and not about how far on they are? They're worried about not being first.
Well, no, what it is that instead of waiting the traditional length of time and putting the vaccine under the scrutiny that it would normally be put under by peer review.
They're looking at bounce governments.
Who was it? Pfizer, what they called? Pfizer, what are they? Fizz Pop, whatever they're called, decided to announce it before it had gone through the full set of checks so that they could boost their share price. It's now forced other companies to do the same thing.
I agree. I think that's probably what the case is, and I'm looking for to that backed up by people that know about health businesses shares, drug companies shares.
Weirdly, the big bounce last week wasn't in pharmaceutical companies; it was in travel companies and airlines. I wish somebody had given me a heads up. I would have bought a hell of a lot of BA stock.
Well, exactly, because Pfizer had announced they had a vaccine that would let you fly in a plane.
I know, not a vaccine, but that's all about some sort of lateral flow tests or something.
No. This was about the jump in the price for air companies is to do with having a vaccine to make it safe to fly.
Oh,
yeah. Open up the skies again.
A certificate to fly, like a special passport. You've had the vaccine.
Yeah. That's the idea. Apparently,
they'll just stamp FUD on your forehead, and then that way you'll be able to jump on a plane or a train again.
Apparently, there's a £6,000 fine in Spain if you don't produce a certificate when you land there that you've tested negative.
Oh dear, no,
That's the first I heard about that. I didn't
Mm.
know anything about that. Somebody can maybe let us know if it's true or not.
And then we had, of course, the classic case of, what was it, a Daily Record journalist, and they brought out one person that had died and she couldn't get her test and all the rest of it. And you get the, what is anybody supposed to reply to that? I'll go and get the details.
I'll tell you what the reply should have been. The test wouldn't have saved their life. Should have been the reply.
And then there was the stupid question that would have wound you up, Norry, about testing. Oh, there's 20% fewer tests in Scotland compared to England. And the First Minister says straight away, that's the wrong way of looking at the testing. It's demand-led. It depends how many people need testing.
Both those questions add to the problem. The first question presumed that if this woman had been tested, it would have saved her life. Well, it wouldn't have. Mm-hmm. Why would it have saved her life? It would have told us she had COVID, but it wouldn't have saved her life.
Yeah.
And the second question, equally stupid. It's obvious if you do less testing, you get a smaller test done because you've got fewer cases. It's just, can they be that stupid?
Well,
yes.
Yeah, in a word, yeah. The whole pandemic has showed us the limitation of the Scottish Press Pack. We've discussed it before. You look at newspapers, you grow up reading newspapers and think, my God, some of these journalists back in the day had vast reputations. Frankly, there's nobody about now to come close to them. But I think we've seen these are just hacks is a great word for them. They're political hacks. They really didn't have any greater understanding than anybody that's on the number 12 bus going to the ice rink or whatever. They've not got any more understanding of politics than your average Joe. They just think they have because they're slightly better informed.
Well, I've been amazed at the quality guys. I mean, the guys I read are as bad as the numpties from the Express and the Sun.
The Times and the Telegraph can be
the Guardian, and they're all looking to put a politician's head on the plate.
Oh, talking about bad
That's what they're looking for.
Here's something to get your teeth into today. Talking about bad press. There's an article in the Guardian today, which is supposedly about Scotland. So I looked at it, and it's about East Craigs and the plans to put in cycle only and safe. What are they called? Local transport network or something? You must know about these, Jimmy. Whether you're limited about the East Craigs thing. Anyway, it's a bigger article, but this person that wrote this article connected the deaths of 2 cyclists in Portobello at that really bad junction at the top of King's Road with what was happening in East Craigs.
You sure it was an Edinburgh Evening News piece, mate? Because that sounds like the kind of accurate reporting about our city that would appear in our local.
Oh well, it could have been in the evening news as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was the suggestion was that because there's apart from what I've heard, there's a very valid reason why the people in East Craigs don't want this bloody restrictions there. They tell me that they don't need it. So
well, 1, they didn't need it, and 2, they're going to have to take massive detours to get out of East Craigs to get anywhere else in the town.
That'll be like the idea of splitting the open space, shutting the road that splits the open space of Leith Links to encourage cycling.
There's actually quite a big scandal going on, and I believe it's going on completely around the country at the moment, and that is town planners are being given free rein to experiment to see if they can come up with new ways of how cities can operate. Basically, they're using the pandemic as a smokescreen to allow social engineering by local council officers.
But Edinburgh's been at it for years.
But if you get a job as a local council officer, there's something very far wrong with you. I mean, you're not quite good enough to get a job in industry. You're second tier, and they're trying social engineering.
Ooh, pay packets, didn't he say that, Jimmy?
No, the pay packets didn't, mate. But let's be honest, people go into local government for a reason. They ain't good enough.
Well, let me just
Mediocrity is acceptable in local government. It always has been.
All right. Let me just emphasize my point. The journalism on this article is appalling. It really. How can you connect two people dying crossing on bikes at the Kings Road junction? That's one of the most dangerous junctions. I wouldn't ride across it on a bike. Should be banned from cycling across it on a bike. Get off your bike and use the pedestrian crossing. That's got nothing to do with East Craigs. It's bloody 8 miles away from East Craigs.
I've often thought I should be allowed a cow catcher on the front of my taxi. I was going up the Pleasance this morning, and honestly, the boy behind me sat behind a push bike. The boy on the push bike was arse up in the air, sweat ripping out of him, trying to go up that hill, and the clown in front of me sat behind him to give him the space that he needed. Boy was doing about 4 miles an hour. I'm trying to go out to the Royal Infirmary. Cyclists, you should be allowed to take out at least 2 or 3 a week when you work in public transport, but unfortunately, you're not.
I remember going up. They used to allow taxis up in the Highlands to have cow catchers on the front. You remember them?
No, I'd love a cow catcher on the front.
No, they had them, but they became illegal. But no, they had the cow catchers because their excuse was there was a lot of deer on the roads in the Highlands. So.
Well, if you hit a deer, mate, it makes a rare mess of the front of your motor.
Exactly. So,
but then at least at that point, you've got the bonus. It makes a nice lump in the freezer in the fridge.
I'll tell you what, Jimmy. I'll try and get you a photograph of an Aviemore taxi with a cow catcher on the front. Obviously, it'll be historical.
Barry.
Right. Okay. We're obviously getting very bored if we're on the cow catchers, boys.
That's very true. Have a pop at Boris.
There's another poll.
No, it's the Pop Goes Scott poll again.
Another one, I know.
No, it's not another poll. It's another question out of the same poll.
It's another question that published this morning. I don't agree with his questions. So
I thought it was a bit leading. Jimmy, you want to give Boris a kicking?
And interesting that Boris is going into hiding again this week, presumably because his missus isn't willing to stand behind him and catch the knives as Michael Gove and Rupert Murdoch try to stab him in the back. So he's off into the fridge to hide for the rest of the week in the hope that everybody will forget what a bumbling idiot he is, and that Michael Gove wouldn't take his job this week.
It was the first thing that popped into my head. When Jill shouted through, she said, I see Boris is having to self-isolate. And I thought, oh, you mean hide?
Mm-hmm.
Hide in the flat.
Well, it seems so.
I noticed Mac Hancock this morning was wheeled out, and he's starting to be quite impressive for a Tory politician.
Piers Morgan ripped him another one.
Oh, I missed that. I'd like to have seen that.
Oh.
He's turned into the useful idiot, the go-to useful idiot. If he wouldn't do it, Alok Sharma's the next one in line. It's like the last government kind of used Nazim Zahawi. Yeah. And every time somebody needed to go on the telly, talk for 10 minutes and say absolutely nothing, Zahawi was the man. That's what Hancock's turning into, because let's be honest, he has made cock up after cock up after cock up, and Boris keeps him in place because that's where the flag's getting pointed. Anything that heads towards Boris, point the flag at Hancock, let him cop for it.
Yeah, so the only thing Hancock's getting good at is getting good at answering or not answering the questions, which is the skill and that's why they wheel him out.
Yes,
that's the only skill you need to be a cabinet minister these days.
Kate Burley tried to trap him in a question about Trump and what Trump had said. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but he did avoid it. I'll give him his due. He managed to avoid
he's bound to get better with that amount of practice.
You're setting a low bar, Stuart, not getting entrapped by Kay Burley. Come on, she's not exactly the sharpest knife in the kitchen drawer either.
So today was the first time that Good Morning Britain, especially with Piers Morgan, was allowed a Tory politician then. For months.
In celebration of Dominic going. Be interesting to see if they get a government minister onto Newsnight tonight. That's
maybe it's because Dominic's been elbowed out. He's just working on the mushroom factory? No, it's not a mushroom factory he's working on. What's he working on, this mushroom scheme?
Britain's DARPA.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Stuart.
It's called some mushroom project. What's it about?
I don't know. I've
I
no
don't
idea
know.
what you're talking about.
It's about testing, isn't it? About 500,000 people getting tested every week or something, or every
For
day. or
what?
something.
COVID. Oh, you're talking about the Liverpool testing
No.
in the world thing.
So this was the ridiculous claim that was made about 5 months ago, and that they were going to test so many people it would be wonderful.
Oh, well, no, sorry. You've got me lost. I can't remember anything about mushrooms. Will we let the people wallow in your fantastic
Moonshots.
interview?
That's what I'm trying to. Not mushrooms. Moonshot project.
Right. Okay. That's
I'll
maybe
tell you,
why
there you
I
go,
totally...
there you go, people. There you go, folks. That's how Stuart's mind works. From mushrooms to moonshots in one
No, it
fell
was the Moonshot project, but it's still about testing, isn't it?
Right. But
Does that ring a bell, Norry?
it does. I know exactly what that is, but the mushrooms did throw me, I have to say.
They threw me. I'm sitting here thinking,
I was expecting some comment about shite and being in the dark.
Ah, well, there you go.
Right. Let's have the interview with Peter.
Okay.
Have you got it set up, Stuart?
Oh, no, I haven't. I didn't realize you wanted me to do it. I put it up for you, but yeah, it won't take me a minute.
Well, if you give me a sec, I'll probably be able to get it.
If you can't get it, I'll dig it out.
Where's it gone?
This will make for riveting viewing, chaps.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you, I can't find it, Stuart. I don't know what you've done with it.
Oh, well, you guys blather away and I'll dig it out then.
All right, okay. So, James,
Aye.
have you had anybody interested in the taxi?
Absolutely not, mate. It's been very, very quiet. Edinburgh is deserted at the minute, mate. To the point where even the Wetherspoons pubs are shut now.
Oh. Ooh.
I think the one in Leith is still open, serving food and coffee, but the Wetherspoons up the town opened and then decided just to shut again
George
because
Street.
the footfall was that slow. And I believe the one in George Street, one of them's open and another one's not, mate. The one at the station is shut. They were getting absolutely nothing.
Ah, well,
So,
there's been nobody travelling on trains.
There you go, Norry. I've got it ready.
Okay. Right, folks, this is an interview Stuart did with Peter A. Bell this morning, mostly about the AUOB conference, online conference. So we'll just let Stuart go ahead with it.
There we go.
Stuart was it talking.
Have you clicked the sound button, Stuart?
Good morning, Peter.
I can hear it, but I can't see a sound button saying I should.
A quick word about Saturday's
Can you hear it?
AUOB Assembly. Now,
Not very well.
Attend.
Okay.
An hour and a half, 2 hours from the start. From,
Yeah.
it was noon was the official start. I gather you stayed a bit longer. How long did you stay?
The whole day. I was there for the whole thing. 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
So, your immediate impression of it, you called it, was it grey sludge?
Yeah, I got two things to say about it, Stuart. First of all, you're referring to the article that I wrote immediately afterwards. I think yesterday that article was published on my blog. The grey sludge refers to the outcome, if we can call it that, of the meeting. But first of all, before we say anything else about it, we have to say that it was incredibly well organised. It was a superb event. I think there were glitches here and there, but then you have glitches even on using well-tried methods. This was everybody, hundreds of people using a platform which I think was new to everybody, including the organisers, AUOB. And they did a terrific job. a terrific job. People were complaining. George Caravan, for example, his sound was a bit muddy. There was these things, but not everything's under the control of the organisers.
He was told to stop projecting, George.
Yes.
I think you're right, and I think George pointed that out in his article this morning. He said that you've got to hand it to the AUOB people, which is like, you know, they got all those marches organised, and there's a lot of organisation involved. I mean, I can't remember how many marches they organised. Okay, they had quite important glitches, one or two people, one in court already, there could be another one, but they have obviously got enough people to do what they did on Saturday quite well. Now, I have no experience of anything like it yet. That's my first experience. So I was listening to your first impression of the organisation there.
Yeah, very impressive. As I say, it was, I was quite amazed. I expected things to be going wrong here, there, and everywhere, and it simply wasn't happening. It was, I partly stayed all day because I wanted to get as familiar with the platform as possible, because it's the same platform as will be used for the SNP Conference at the end of the month.
That's a very good
I
reason.
wanted to familiar with it. And it all worked very nicely. One of the things that I liked about it, one of the things that I thought wasn't going to work, but it did. It worked remarkably well, and that was the speed dating, the random networking, where you just you logged in, and then you were connected with the next person in the queue. So you were connected. It was two random people being connected and left to talk for, I think, 3 minutes or something like that. And it was superb. I met half a dozen people that I didn't know. I met one or two people that I'd met before, and it worked really well. And the same goes for the rest of it. It was brilliantly organised, and we have to be absolutely about that. Big credit to AUOB.
Let's move on from that, which is, I'm glad to hear that, because we needed that. We need somebody to get organised, and we need and we needed this particular forum to work, because, as you say, we've got it for the conference. What about, how would you sum up? Because you said the grey sludge headline comes from the idea that you have a rainbow coalition to pull together, and the trouble is sometimes if you mix up all your colours, you get a grey sludge. Is that still how you feel about it?
Yeah, it's very much the thing about the camel being a horse that was designed by a committee, and it just, every single one of these events, every time you get two or more yes activists together, everybody goes off on their own particular tangent. Everybody's got their pet issue. Everybody's got their own agenda.
You know, Peter, the first person that spoke was our Charlotte Ashman on the stage, and the first thing she said was she came up with a list of causes that she demanded be incorporated. And it was like, okay, I want independence, but only my kind of independence. And I threw my pen down. I couldn't be bothered writing notes about it.
Conditional independence. That is a big bugbear in the yes movement. Is a problem when we got all the new members after 2014. A lot of them came from Labour, and a lot of them brought with them a lot of political baggage. They were very welcome, but I thought that would sort of settle down a bit. It had entrenched, and this is exactly what I was referring to, the grey sludge. Everybody's putting in all their causes. They're trying to get all these causes dealt with. But a movement can actually address a number of different causes, many different causes. A campaign can. You cannot have a campaign for half a dozen or a dozen never mind 100 different causes.
Well, let's not leave this discussion too downbeat. Let me point out that George points out something that you can't really disagree with. We really needed an alternative forum right now to discuss things, because everything's been sat on by the SNP top, whatever you call them, hierarchy. So, I mean, it was a relief to be able to do that on Saturday, was it not?
It was, and I think it's a wee maybe slap in the face for the SNPs. They've been putting it too strongly, but it's certainly a stark contrast. Put it that way, it's a stark contrast to what the SNP are doing. Unfortunately, it went to the other extreme. It was a bit too open. There was a bit too much discussion of too many different things, so that the Assembly didn't appear to serve the purpose that was intended. However, you said not to be too downbeat, and I have to agree with you there, because the job is not finished. There's a follow-up conference, a smaller conference with invitees. I don't know exactly how this is working, how people are being sorted. But I think it's to be about 100 people. That's on Sunday coming. And that's where the action actually takes place.
You know, that's going to conflict. That's going to conflict with my attendance at the Scottish Tory Conference this weekend. You know.
Oh dear. Well, you've got to prioritise, Stuart. You've got to prioritise. You don't want to miss an opportunity to hear Douglas Ross rambling, do you?
God, I know. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing the outcome of that. What does it say here? I've got here, I'll put your name in here under something, because I wanted to ask you a question about it. This is what George says. With support for independence in the mid-50s, Boris Johnson knows granting a Section 30 order with no strings equals the end of the Union, which suggests he and Michael Gove will play for time and certainly link any Section 30 tricky conditions designed to thwart Scottish self-determination. That's strong enough for you to describe. Does that describe that? I know you don't like. You're very keen to point out that Plan B. What does it mean anyway? It means so many different things. Can be a trap.
Anything that involves Section 30 is a trap. Section 30 itself is a trap. It's nice to see George Kerrigan pointing this out. What he's actually saying there is the same as I've been saying for many years now, ever since the aftermath of the 2014 referendum. I've been saying this. The Section 30 is a trap. It had to be used for the 2014 referendum. So let's just get away from that. But it's not 2014 anymore. It's not 2012 anymore. So we have to deal with the circumstances now. But what George is recognising is the fact that being granted a Section 30 order is no better, in fact, probably worse than being refused a Section 30 order. Because there is no way that a free and fair referendum can be produced by the Section 30 process.
I think, Peter,
it's not what it's designed to do, it's not what it will do.
It appears to me we're up against a fog of confusion about this, the simple fact that we're never going to get our independence with the permission of a UK government that depends on the Union for its self-belief. And I'm sorry, I wasn't impressed with some of the what would you call it, the shrapnel that's fallen out of John James Kelly's Scotland's Pop latest poll. Even that, well, we could talk about that on another day, but there just seems to be we're still up against the grey sludge inside the SNP.
Yeah, well, there's grey sludge all over the bloody place. There's too much of it. Just at the time when we actually need focus, unity, focus, and discipline, we have anything but. And that's of course what the AUOB Assembly was supposed to do. But yes, we're not getting the focus at all. We're not.
Well, let's wind it up, because I don't want to make it too long today. We'll get you on live in the near future again on the show. To sum up, it was a worthwhile exercise for the organisers to get used to using Hopin and to meet all these other people, was it not?
It was also, and I have to stress, I didn't intend to be totally negative about it. It wasn't taken as the opportunity that it should have been. A lot of people didn't seem to realise actually what the purpose was. Or maybe I got it wrong, but I don't think so.
I saw a few people complaining that on the sessions, people weren't logging out. There was only a limited number of people.
That's the technical side of it. But people were, the purpose of the thing, as I saw it, was to bring together the Yes movement, to unite the Yes movement in a membership organisation, so that the Yes movement could speak with one voice, which is something it has never done. And that required everybody to focus on one thing, the one thing that we all have in common. We don't all have these causes in common. We can't possibly. There's a whole raft of causes, and some of us will subscribe to some, and others will subscribe to others, and people will subscribe to one or other side of an issue. So we're never going to get unity on anything other than the matter of restoring Scotland's independence.
And that means
so we have to learn to focus entirely on that.
And the one thing, of course, is to end the union, or as you like to put it, dissolve the union. And I have to agree with you there. Thank you, George. Thank you, Peter.
That's a compliment. That's a compliment.
And thank you very much for coming on again. And
nice talking to you, Stuart. Nice talking. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I did say stop sharing, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it took place, but I'm not sure that Peter got what he wanted out of it, which was a sharp focus. It appears to have just been everybody wanting their independence in their way with their.
I'm also sorry that I didn't manage to get the interview yesterday. I think it's worth saying that in between thinking about what happened on Saturday, yesterday I tried to arrange the interview, and today Peter's wrote another article, and you can tell that his brain wasn't. You move on when you write another article, don't you?
Yeah.
But you get the gist of it is there, that it was a worthwhile exercise. There were nearly 500 people took part. So there's hopefully something will come out of it this next coming weekend. We do need something, a mass membership organisation outside the SNP. That's what most people agree.
Jimmy?
What? Just so that somebody else can hijack it and they can be reduced to factionalism and infighting. That's all that'll come out of it. The socialist workers already claimed that the AUOB Assembly is set up in opposition almost to the SNP. Socialist workers try to claim it. George Kerrivan's try to claim it for the left. It's just another exercise in factionalism as far as I'm concerned. And knowing AUOB, they'll find a way to monetize it.
I can't, I mean, there's now the Constitutional Convention, which
they're not very active.
Yeah, but they were the last ones to hold a big weekend meeting.
That was 5 years ago now.
Yeah,
right?
but they were the last ones to do it. Do you think they've disappeared? That's your lefty intellectuals vehicle. I'm not quite sure who AUOB will be, but I just get a whiff out of all of this that it's people looking to forge careers for themselves again.
My final opinion on whether this was worth it will be conditional on if anything comes out of it. If there's nothing happens out of because of it, nothing happens. It doesn't worry me that it certainly doesn't worry me that it's happened and that there is a potential organisation outside the party. I mean, I didn't like the way that the Yes campaign was run so closely by the party during the referendum the last time round.
Have you reported them to the police? Because that would be illegal if it was true. Oh, there we go. And
So you don't believe they appointed the people? The money came from the SNP. For goodness me!
they were two different strands of independent supporters, but it's illegal for them to collude in any way at all.
What do you mean collude?
Well, it's like two different parties at election time. They're not allowed to collude. They're not allowed to say, for instance, oh, we'll buy 10,000 leaflets and split them 50-50. You know,
I'm just surprised you're telling me that you're trying to say that the Yes campaign at the last independence referendum wasn't set up by and run by the SNP, because it was.
Oh, was it? Right. Who was in charge of it from the SNP side?
They appointed Blair Jenkins.
Blair Jenkins was appointed to run the Yes movement. The SNP didn't appoint him.
I just disagree with you. There you go.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And Stuart, you're getting good at that, by the way, throwing out these accusations with nothing to back them up. Jimmy, now that Stuart and I have had our daily spat.
Well, as I say, mate, I don't think much will come out. And knowing AUOB is a fabulous organisation in terms of the marches that they organise, mate, but they've got as much baggage as... No, I'm not going to go there. I can't think of something polite.
Well, look, Jimmy, well, we've got you here. What do you think's going to happen at the conference, which is in less than 2 weeks? Are you looking forward to it?
Less than fuck all, mate, if I'm honest about it. I think virtually nothing will happen. We'll get platitudes. We'll get a huge amount of applause for Nicola being a wonderful administrator, but nothing will come out of it, mate. They're not wanting anything. The SNP don't want anything to happen. They want smooth sailing all the way to next year's election to guarantee over 50% of the vote. And allowing any ruction at conference would possibly cause ripples that wouldn't make that happen. So nothing will happen at the conference. Anybody that's got anything, anybody that gets on air to say anything controversial, their signal will drop out.
I agree with you, and I think it's probably politically the right way to play it.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, mate. But my worry is that she's actually going to lose. She's not going to get over 50% of the vote. I worry that. Well, see, I think she's lost. I think she's losing the public, mate. Scots hate to be manipulated, and right now, all this briefing that she's completely denying, all this kite flying, it's classic manipulation. It's classic gaslighting. And frankly, if I was a Tory, I'd be putting in as many freedom of information requests as possible to get as close to the truth on regional figures as possible, and then spend the first 3 months of next year calling Nicola Sturgeon a liar every time she opens her mouth. I think the campaign will be incredibly personal because it worked for them with Corbyn. They managed to get England to believe that a man who has a 40-year career on the left wing of the Labour Party was racist. If they can manage to get Scots to believe that Nicola is a liar and is manipulating us, they've won. They didn't need to win the election, Norry. They just need to get her down to about 48%. And at that point, they've won. I'm
not disagreeing with you, Jimmy. Which why I think the politics is really important. Stuart.
Yes, no, I think. I mean, I'm glad that the topics come up because don't forget, Gove has got. We got a wee. Some of what Gove's up to came up above the horizon about 2 weeks ago. That he'd tried to get these attack dogs hired and paid by the civil service, but the civil service said, "Oh no, you can't do that. These are SPADs, and you can pay them."
That's all right. We'll just change the law.
Well, that's the least of their worries. The fact that worries me is that they're actually It doesn't worry me. It's just that if they didn't do this, there'd be something wrong with them, wouldn't they? If they didn't have well-paid people to attack the SNP and the DS movement.
I think we could be fortunate in one way, in that the infighting for the Tory party might distract them for Scotland in the Scottish election. Because unless they get rid of Boris in the next 2 or 3 weeks, that's going to run right through into next year. I was reading a piece this morning that says Sunak thinks his main chance of getting the top job is to get it before Christmas, because all the economic stuff's going to,
There you go.
it's going to be an absolute disaster economic-wise after Brexit, and he wants out of the Treasury before all the hits the wall.
Yeah, well, I can see that. I can see a few of them running for the hills, though, if Boris goes. I think we'll end up back with...
I think it's going to find that Gove is a man that desperately wants it, and he does have the backing of Rupert Murdoch. But Sunak and quite a few of the younger crowd, they've sat and watched Gove, Boris, tear the party apart over Brexit for the last few years. There's every chance that the younger wing of the party might think, you know what, it's time for a change, generational change here, just move them all aside. Don't know if they've got the power to do that, but they've certainly got the...
In political
Tories,
terms,
they go for it.
Jimmy, in political terms, that crowd that are in there now are really quite young. It's one of their problems, I think. There's not a lot of experience sitting around that cabinet table.
Aye, they're also lightweights though, mate. I think
I think you're right there.
I think there's every chance that if there was an organised putsch against them, they wouldn't be able to fight back, because I didn't think they've got the nous to do so.
Yeah. Okay, we'll call it a day at that. I think we're pushing up to the hour. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, Stuart, wherever you've got to. But thanks for listening, folks. I'm Norry Stewart, and we'll catch you all tomorrow. Cheers for now.